So, good morning everyone. First, I'm going to introduce myself. I am Johanna Grace B. Maneha. So today, we are going to talk about Krashen's monitor level. There are 5 monitor levels, but we are going to focus on affective filter. But what is affective filter hypothesis? This hypothesis basically explained that a language cannot be learned if a learner is lacking the learning process.
Lesson objectives. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to explain the meaning of the affective filter hypothesis, identify factors that raise or lower the affective filter, describe how emotional variables influence language acquisition, apply classroom strategies to reduce the affective filter in real teaching contexts. Definition: the affective filter acts as a barrier to acquisition. If the filter is down, the input reaches the language acquisition device and becomes acquired competence. If the filter is up, the input is blocked and does not reach language acquisition device.
A learner can have either high affective filter or low affective filter. If the learners have a high affective filter, that's when they start to block their learning process, which is called a mental block or emotional barrier that prevents learners from fully utilizing comprehensible input. So, here we have 3 key affective variables. First is motivation. This refers to the learners try to learn the target language. For example, the students, if the learners have a high motivation to participate and to compete in class activities or have the high motivation to get a higher score in their examination or quizzes like that. And next is self-confidence. This relates to the learners' self-esteem and belief in their own ability to succeed at language learning. So, for example, if they have a self-confidence, like they are confident to recite or to let out their thoughts in recitation, to voice out their thoughts or what they want to say in front of the classes or in front of their teachers. And so lastly, maybe we are already familiar with this anxiety. This is the feeling of nervousness, fear or worry associated with the learning process. For example, when we are reciting, we feel like we fear that what others might say about us or what they are going to say when we make mistakes, or we are feeling nervousness when we are going to report in front of the classes, in front of the professor, or we are feeling intimidated when we are reciting in front of the professor. So that's an example of the 3 key affective variables that um, affecting our learning process. So here we have an example. So next is higher motivation. Learners are eager and willing to learn, take responsibility for their studies, and are open to taking risks and experimenting with the language. So our affective filter in this is low filter. So for example, a student who is excited to learn English because he dreams of studying abroad, works hard in class, participates actively, and practices outside of the classroom. So this is when our students or the learners have a low affective filter. So next is lower motivation. So here we have high filter. For example, a student who is forced to take a language class, they have no interest in a words speaking, those minimal work, and feels bored, leading to minimal language acquisition. So our affective filter here is high pure filter. So if the low affective filter is associated with high motivation, high self-confidence, and low anxiety, this environment facilitates language input acquisition. input and acquisition. Next, if we have high affective filter associated with low motivation, low self-esteem, and high anxiety, this creates a barrier impeding the language learning process. So next, implications for teachers. So as teachers, our goal is to lower the affective filter so students can acquire language naturally and effectively. So first is teacher's role. So let's begin with the teacher's role. According to Krashen, teachers are not merely transmitters of knowledge, so we are also facilitators of a positive emotional environment. So we should create a low anxiety environment. So for example, our classrooms must feel safe and students should not fear being wrong. When they feel relaxed, their brain is open to language input. Next is you should build students' confidence as a teachers. Confidence is a powerful motivator. Even small compliments like good attempts or you are improving, those remarks can lower anxiety and inspire progress. Next is encouragement, motivation. So students learn faster when they want to learn. So you should use topics they enjoy or celebrate cultural backgrounds and show why the language matters in real life. And last is be supportive, not critical or not harsh. So the teachers should sound like mentors, not judges. A soft tone, patience, and empathy greatly lower students' affective filter. So next is we have instructional strategies. So Krashen emphasized comprehensible input. Language is slightly above the learner's level, but is still understandable. However, for students to observe that input or instructional strategies must reduce anxiety. Number one is use comprehensible input like I plus one. So, for example, explain with visuals, gestures, examples, and real objects. And the goal should be the goal is clarity, not complexity. Next is use meaningful and interesting activities. So, for example, when activities connect to students' experiences, stories, games, dialogues, they forget their fear and begin to communicate naturally. Next is promote collaborative learning. Pair and group work reduce the pressure of performing alone. Students practice comfortably with pairs. So next is avoid forced speaking. So one of Krashen's strongest points, do not force output. Allows students to speak when they feel ready. Pushing them too early raises anxiety. So last is build a warm classroom climate. A smile, humor, and approachable body language make a big difference. Students will take more risk with the language. So next is we have error correction approach. So finally, Krashen remind us that error correction must be handled carefully. While errors are part of learning, how we correct them determines whether the affective filter rises or falls. So number one is use gentle and non-threatening corrections. For example, never embarrass the students. A harsh correction can shut their willingness to speak. Next is focus on communication before accuracy. If the meaning is clear, do not interrupt. Let the conversation flow. Next is use delayed correction. So correct major errors after the students finishes speaking. This protects their confidence. Next is use recast. A recast means repeating the student's incorrect sentence correctly. For example, students, the students said she go to market. So the teachers should say, yes, she goes to the market. So it corrects without making the student feel wrong. So next is encourage self-correction. So ask guiding questions. So for example, those that sound right. So it helps them.
Conclusion. The affective filter hypothesis highlight the importance of emotions in language learning, a supportive classroom low and anxiety, and increases language intake. Teachers influence learners' motivations, confidence, and enjoyment. When the affective filter is low, learning becomes natural and effective.
In short, Krashen's affective filter hypothesis remind us that emotions and environment are just as important as grammar. Students learn best when they feel safe, confident, and motivated. So, as teachers, we must create a low-anxiety classroom, use engaging and comprehensible instruction, and correct errors gently, constructively.